Hi, good day. I'm sure you are doing great today. My name is Timotokpe Wolabi, like you all know. So, this is the second course I'll be facilitating for this diet. I'm also the facilitator for human resource management. So, I'll be anchoring the course titled Attitude and Character Management in the Workplace. This is the second course under my facilitation. So today we'll be looking at an overview of what this course is all about. We are talking about workplace attitude and character. How are these two variables showcased, and how are they exhibited in the workplace, and how well can they be managed? That basically is actually what this course would be addressing. So today we'll look at an overview of what attitude is, as well as character and character management. So these would form the learning objectives for this course today. I'm sure the word attitude is actually not new to you, because it's actually like a family word used all around the world. When you say attitude or character, is one of those things that are being portrayed at the place of work, not just at the place of work, in any social gatherings, because it's about how people relate and how they exhibit certain traits within a social environment. We are humans, and there's a need, and of course, there would be that need to portray certain things to others based on the situations around. So we'll be looking at all of this today and relating it to the workplace. How well can we manage all of these things? Because to a large extent, how well we manage our character and attitude is a function of how well productivity will be achieved in the workplace. So when we talk about attitude, of course, we would need to know that throughout every day of our lives, we are faced with certain issues, certain information, certain interactions, certain, behavior or stimulus from the environment where we are operating from. And of course, this is actually what obtains all around the world. Of course, in our daily interaction, in our day to day activity, in our going out, our coming in any social engagement, we're going to encounter, different people because of the fact that they have different ideologies, they have different backgrounds, they have different experience, they're exposed to different things, and of course, all of these would provide us with information about ourselves. All right, our relationship, and our environment. All of these people we meet, we encounter, the places we go, the things we do, will definitely, provide information for us as well as our environment. So, how we interpret this information that we receive from our environment will determine our attitude, and that definitely will lead us to the major concept of today, which is attitude. When we say attitude, make sense of our world. How well do we see things? How do we judge? How do we think? How do we react? Is a function of your attitude. So your attitude or lens alters your perception of the information you receive or you encounter throughout the day. Anything you portray. Same thing goes on in the workplace. The work environment is a heterogeneous society or a heterogeneous unit where people from different background, different culture, with different value system, with different experience, with different work life structure, with different family background, will come together to achieve collective goals. Now, people who are coming from different background will definitely find it difficult to understand themselves. They'll find it difficult to interact together, and in the process of interacting, they will exhibit certain attitude because of the fact that they think that the Hausa man behaves a particular way, the Yoruba man behaves a particular way, The Igbo woman behaves in a particular way. So the way they perceive others, the way they receive information from their environment will determine the attitude they exhibit at work. And of course, this is why managers must be able to ensure that they inculcate the right attitude into workers, because your attitude will determine how far the organization would go. Attitude, whether individually or collectively, will determine the profitability level or how well the growth of the organization can be sustained over a period of time. Now, when we're still talking about attitude, just like you see here, that attitude is everything. And like I said previously, that attitude is actually what determines your profitability level. Attitude is what determines the growth state of an organization, because attitude is what will determine how people interact. Attitude is what will determine how people interact with their customers or their client. And once attitude is not palatable, definitely it will draw people back from interacting with an individual. So great philosophers have long argued that there's no such thing as truth, because we all have different perception of it. It's just like seven blind men were called to describe an elephant. From their own perspective, they couldn't see. What they only had was that sense of feeling. The one who held the leg said, "Oh, the elephant is like a tree." The one who had the tail, "Oh, the elephant is like a snake." The one who felt the body, "The elephant is like a wall." The one who held the trunk, the tusk, so the elephant is like an ear and all that. They were right in their own state, but they were saying the truth. But their point of argument was just based on how far they could see. And of course, that's exactly what attitude is all about. We perceive things differently. We understand, we have different sense of judgment, we have different level of comprehension or understanding, and how far we understand events within our environment or within the workplace will determine how well we'll interpret it. And how we interpret it will determine the attitude we would exhibit. Of course, in other words, your view about the world is defined by your lens of attitude. How you interpret issues, how you interpret events is a function of the kind of attitude you possess. So your interpretation of different places, interpretation of different people or different things will depend on your lens of attitude, and the impact and impact the way you think, you feel, and you definitely will behave. All of these are basically the background to attitude from a general and more specific point of view. Now, the question at this juncture we need to ask ourselves is, what is attitude? What is attitude? Like I said, attitude is a universal phenomenon, because with the fact that blood still runs through our veins, we would need to behave in a particular way. Blood still runs through our bloodstream, we will still behave in a particular way. Definitely, attitude will be exhibited. What then do we mean when we say attitude? Attitude. When we say attitude, is both social, biological, and psychological concept. Social aspect in terms of how we behave, psychological aspect in terms of how we think, then biological aspect in terms of what actually is the cause of the way people behave. All of these are what we'll still discuss in our subsequent slides. So, what then is attitude? Attitude refers to a set of emotions, beliefs, and behavior towards a particular object, person, thing, or event. Your set of emotion. Don't forget to say that all these things you exhibit or you possess is a function of how you've interpreted or how you've thought about it. The way you perceive an interpreted event will determine your set of emotions, will determine the truth about it, that's your beliefs, and will determine your behavior towards a particular object, person, or thing, or an event. It is often the result of our experience or upbringing. As I said, it's both a social and biological or psychological concept. When we say attitude being a function of experience, it's a function of experience. That means it's the social perspective. When we say social, is a form of interaction with others in an environment. In the course of we interacting, there would be some, experiences would get or gather that would inform our actions and decisions. An attitude definitely will be shaped by our experience, as well as our upbringing. That's where the biological as well as the psychological will come in. How do we uh, socialize people? How do we train them? A father or a mother will tell the child every morning you have to greet your elders, you have to prostrate and kneel down to greet your elders, we have to give an elder a good or an item with your right hand. All these things are socialization process that will inculcate the right attitude into a child so that the child will be embraced within the entire community. So it's not just about experience, but upbringing, how you've been socialized into the social world, how you've been trained, how you've been taught about things around you, which the society expects from you. Apart from that, they can have powerful influence over our behavior. All of these experiences, all of these things we do will definitely have impact on how we behave. When we say behavior and attitude, they are two different things. Attitude is a thought process in terms of what you know about an event, what you've thought about an event, what you think about an event, your emotions towards it, your feelings towards it, an event. But when we say behavior, is now when you act based on your emotions. You act based on your emotion. You act based on your emotion. In addition, still talking about the concept attitude, attitude includes evaluation of people, issues, objects, or event. Such evaluation are often positive or negative, but they can also be uncertain at times, in terms of they can be deceptive. So the way you evaluate things, the way you evaluate issues or objects is actually what attitude is. As a manager in the workplace, you work in HR unit, how you evaluate your people, your workers, how you appraise their performance, or how you sanction or discipline them or motivate them is a function of, how you think or feel about them. And that's why attitude is actually very important. And of course, it could be negative or positive. Positive in terms of it's palatable, but negative when it is not palatable. It is positive because others will experience it and they would have reason for them to want to embrace you. They will have the cause for them to want to affiliate themselves with you because of the right attitude you possess. But when you talk about a negative attitude, is actually when people are trying to restrict themselves away from you because of the kind of attitude one possesses. Now, components of attitude. Components of attitude. Attitude can be classified into three major components in terms of the aspect or the various dimensions to which we can explain attitude. There are three major concepts. The first one is affective component. Secondly, we have the behavioral component, and thirdly, we have the cognitive component. So, if they say the ABC of attitude, that means they're talking about the components of attitude. The ABC of attitude is a component of attitude. A for affection, so affective or affection. B for behavioral, then C the cognitive. Now let's look at the affective component of attitude. This refers to the way we feel about things, the way we feel, our emotions, all right, our thoughts about an object. All right, when we say we have an affection towards somebody, that means you have feelings for somebody. All right, feelings could be hurt, it could be love, it could be hatred. All right, these are examples of that affective component. You could feel hatred for somebody or feel love for somebody, and this will actually exhibit in the way you behave. All right. So as a manager, the way you feel about your workers or a worker will determine how you react to him or her. If you know that a worker is very stubborn, a worker will always do what the organization doesn't want people to do because he or she believes that you get away with it. You have this feeling that, oh, this guy is rude, is stubborn. Now I would need to sanction him anytime he does wrong. That's affective, right? The way you feel, your emotion. Another way around, the way you love workers, the way you want to make workers get engaged in the work process will also have impact on how you react to them, your attitude towards them. The second component is the behavioral component. It talks about the way we behave. The way we behave. So the behavioral component of attitude refers to the way the attitude we have influence how we act or behave. How we act or behave. It could be the way you see things, the way you feel about something will now make you behave in a particular way in terms of the action which will now emanate from the feeling of an event or about a person. Behavior is a function of attitude. Behavior is the way you act, and your action will determine the way you feel about people, and that's what the behavioral component is all about. The way we behave, the way we act based on our attitude. As a manager, you could be harsh to workers, you could be rude to them, and of course you could also be embracing to them. All these are behavior. All these are the actions we take, in the course of we interacting with people. The third one is the cognitive component, and it's actually that refers to the beliefs, the thought, or the attribute that we would associate with an object. The way we think about something. Oh, I love this worker. All right, is actually based on how that guy or that woman is behaving. Now, the way you think about this person, oh, is good. All right, is good. Makes it a cognitive component. Is a thought process that the way you process information in your brain, the way you process information in your memory is actually the cognitive component. Now, looking at all the three components, we start with cognitive component. Oh, I think this guy is good. All right, I think this guy is good. What comes next is the affective. Oh, I like him. He's hardworking. Now, the behavioral comes in. Now, I'll always reward him better or positively. All right, that's how the three works. The three component work. Or cognitive component would be like, oh, this guy is lazy. That's a cognitive. I think this guy is lazy based on the way he walks. All right. Affective comes in. That's the feeling. I need to deal with him. Then the behavioral comes in. I will now introduce like a negative motivation for him to come back to his normal senses. These are the various components of attitude. The ABC, which managers need to know and operationalize into their business or into their workplace to drive optimal performance, because attitude is key when talking about performance or profitability. Attitude formation. How can attitude be formed? How can attitude be formed? Don't forget, most especially in the workplace, it's a heterogeneous unit. That is, people from different backgrounds, from different workplaces, from different family background, from different environment, with different experiences, will come together to achieve a goal. In that process, you will see different types of attitude, all right, that will be formed based on that setting. So there are a number of factors that can influence how and why attitudes are formed. All right, here is a closer look of some of them. Number one is experience. Your experience with others or your experience with the environment. Two, social factors. Three, learning and conditioning. And four is observation. So we'll take these four major um, factors one after the other. Now, talking about attitude formation, the first factor that causes formation of attitude is experience. Experience. Attitude are formed directly as a result of your experience. All right. It could be as a result of your personal experience or um, your experience from past relationships, or it could be experience from your past workplace. It could be experience from your, you know, immediate environment where you live. You know, all these are places where we all gather experience. Now, let me take you back to John Locke's psychological principle of experience. He said that human beings are born with a blank slate, and this blank slate he called tabula rasa. Tabula rasa. Now, over time, as we interact with our environment, events, experiences are written on this slate, this blank slate, which now form part of us, which now form us into who we are today. All right. So all these experiences that are written on this slate will form our attitude. And of course, it's true. Human beings are born into this world with a pure mind. As we interact with the environment, all these experiences are now written on our hearts and our mind, which now determine our attitude. So attitude is actually linked with our experience. All right. Your attitude could be, like I said, personal experience or from observing events within your environment. As a worker, for instance, you've had experience with several, as a manager, for instance, you've had experience with several workers in terms of dealing with them, the good, the bad, and the ugly kind. Now, in your subsequent work experience and interactions, of course, you will meet people that you have handled or you've worked with before. So the way you handle them will now also inform how you will handle the people you are meeting afresh. This is experience. You know, in when talking about HR, we don't joke with work experience in terms of the knowledge and understanding you have about a particular work previously, which would also inform what you're doing now and the future. So attitude is formed based on our experience. How events over time have actually been written on our mind to form our actions. It could also be from observation. You view things, you see things, you feel things within your environment. Another way attitude can be formed is through social factors. Social factors, that is, our environment where we live or interact. You know, when you talk about social factors, there are two aspects of this. It could be social roles and social norms. You know, when we say social roles and social norms, they have great influence on the way our attitude is being exhibited. They have great impact on our attitude. Now, when we say about social role, it deals with how people are expected to behave in a particular role or in a particular context. How you are to behave, how you are to act, how you are to do things, how you are to relate with others, how you are to exhibit certain things or actions is a function of social roles. Your role as a father or your role as a HR manager, what are you expected to do? All right. The second one is the social norm, which involves the rules that guide people's behavior, the rules that are appropriate or not appropriate, what are to do and what are not expected to do. There are so many institutions that have been put together to ensure that people work according to the social norms. You know, it could be the police, it could be the road safety, it could be the last man, what have you. These are people who have been given the authority to ensure that norms are complied with. And once these norms are not complied with, there are actions. So people would definitely want to live or exhibit attitude which would be right for or appropriate for the society. So social factors are there to really help form our attitude. Social factors, there are so many agents within the social environment. Families, they are agents of social environment. They are the ones we learn societal values from at the point of birth. The family is the first point of call when talking about socialization. The family will be the one to orientate us and to also tell us what is expected of us within our environment. We also have our religious institution, our educational institutions, our economic institutions. All these are there to ensure that people work according to rules. All these are social factors that influence our attitude. Same goes for the workplace. There are so many social attitude, for example, social factors, the way people are bonded together, the relationship culture between the manager and the employees, the organizational structure in terms of how people relate, the command structure, how people relate with their superior, their colleagues, or their subordinates. These are issues that form attitude. Love with a dog, with a stimulus, and what this means is that our action, our attitude is a function of how we see things in our environment. What is learning? Acquiring knowledge, acquiring skills, acquiring attitude that shape who we are. Now, let me give you an instance. Consider an advert, on the television. You see a young lady, beautiful people, or a young guy, group of people, in a beach. They are enjoying a very chilled soft drink. And in that commercial, they will portray certain attitude. Oh, I love the feeling of this drink, or I like this drink, like the Lacasera advert. This attractive and appealing imagery will cause you to develop a positive association to that brand. And the way you see people reacting at the end of the intake of this drink will now make you want to associate yourself with it. That is learning and conditioning. Don't forget the word association. You learn or you want to associate yourself based on what you see that others have experienced, based on what you see that others have actually done. On the other hand, or you see a guy smoking, after lighting a cigarette, people around him started complaining, they started chastising him, they started, um, 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 complaining about him, and they told him to leave. And of course, he actually did. This scenario will paint that there was a negative feedback in the exhibition or in the consumption of that cigarette. And of course, eventually, you will also develop an unfavorable opinion about smoking. And of course, you might decide to give up that kind of habit, based on what you've seen. This is attitude formation, based on what you've seen, what you've associated yourself with. It could be positive or negative. In the workplace too, people are conditioned to certain things. Take for instance, a guy has been coming late for 1 week consecutively, and of course, it got to a point the manager had to sanction him, take 20% away from his salary as penalty. This is going to be hardship for him. But because of the fact that you have seen him, that if you do same thing, you might also be punished that same way. That would also impact on your attitude towards coming early or coming late to work. These are conditioning. These are learning processes that also shape our attitude. And the last one is observation. Still talking how attitude is formed. Observation. Observation. When we say observe, is actually the way we learn from observing things or seeing things around us. When we observe things, we are making use of our sense organs. What are the sense organs? The object of seeing, which is the eyes, the object of thinking, or the object of hearing, that is the ears, the object of speaking, the mouth, the object of smell, the nose, the mere object of feeling, which is the skin. All these are the sense organs that we all possess, which also will determine, how attitude is formed. So we learn based on what we see, we learn based on what we hear, based on what we say, and based on what we feel about us. All of these are been well articulated in the components of attitude. So people learn attitude by observing people around them. You see the way people behave. You hear people say about other people. You feel the way people are behaving to you or to others, and it would often influence you. So when someone greatly, admires you greatly, you know, it gives a particular attitude. It espouses a particular attitude. And of course, you are more likely to develop that same belief. For example, children spend great time, observing the attitude of their parents, and usually they demonstrate similar traits based on what they see their parents do. If you see parents, loving themselves too much, children will also exhibit kind of trait and attitude. But if you see parents who fight and are always in conflict at all times, children will also, there's a likelihood that children will also take after that. So this is true observation. This is true um, um, seeing things or feeling things around you. People learn things online. You are not there physically, but you observe the way they are doing it. Take for instance, a woman who wants to learn how to make a bead. Online, from that video you are watching, how they are putting those beads and rope and needle together. They are also, practicalizing the way they are doing it. You will learn from there. People learn how to dance. People take after models, role models who act, who sing, who play football, who do this, who do that. It forms an attitude within them. This is one of the ways attitudes are being formed. So we've talked about the learning and conditioning, the social factors, the observation, and other factors that actually bring about attitude formation. Briefly, what are the importance of attitude? Importance of attitude. There are three basic significance of attitude, most especially from the workplace point of view. The first is that it helps to increase job satisfaction. Having the right attitude can help you increase your satisfaction with your job, and it makes your day-to-day stressors more tolerable. What is job satisfaction? A feeling of um, um, positive feeling, or sorry, positive satisfaction about a particular job. When you feel that you like a job, of course you'll be satisfied. When the right attitude are exhibited in the workplace, maybe attitude between the manager and the subordinate, or among colleagues, among workers, there will be that kind of satisfaction that people get from the job. Secondly, attitude help to improve performance. A helpful attitude would help improve your performance, your focus, your motivation, and ability to perform at a level you desire. So when you have a good attitude, it's considered as a valuable trait or an asset, when talking about performance review, because attitude is one of the indicators for performance. Don't forget, you don't just know the skill, you have to have the right attitude. That's why they will say that your attitude will determine your altitude. Your attitude will determine your altitude. That is, for you to move up the ladder, for you to move up the ranks, through the ranks, get to a particular desired destination, attitude is very key. It's like the ladder you will take. It's not just about your work or your skill or your experience, but your behavioral patterns also will do. And thirdly, attitude helps in professional personal development. So with the right attitude, you'll be able to work well with other people, and you in the process of working with other people, you have the opportunity to grow in your profession and as a person. If you have a mentee who does not like you, who believes that your attitude is not ripe enough, of course, such person would be far away from you, and that person will not be able to develop and grow. Same thing goes for you. You want to learn from other people, but their attitude might want to debar you from interacting with them. So when there is the right attitude, it helps you to develop personally and professionally, because The workplace, there's no boundary in terms of knowledge. We all have our own strength. You might need some assistance from other people, but you meeting somebody might not really be too good for you because the kind of attitude the person would exhibit or portray towards you. Now, that is one part of it. The second part, we're talking about attitude and character management. That is just an overview of what attitude is. Now, what is character? Character. When we say character, is also a concept we are familiar with. It is a morally neutral terms that describes a person's most prominent attributes or the sum of total features or traits that form an individual's nature. The sum total of the features and traits that form an individual's nature. When we say character, it is both formed and revealed by how one deals with everyday situations as well as extraordinary pressures. Your character is what people would see from the outside. You might have an attitude, which from the inside, but your character is actually what they would see. It translates to what we call behavior, what they see. All right, the physical nature, the physical things you see or that you exhibit when you interact with people, which is prominent to them, or the totality of who you are, is actually what we call character. It also refers to the sum of an individual's quality, what you are made of, your characteristics, or what differentiates you from others. We might have the same attitude, but our character will always vary. I might be an extrovert, I might be able to, or an introvert, I might be reserved, but that's my attitude. But my character will make me, as an introvert, when I'm offended, I might just stay calm. An introvert also might be offended and might lose temper. You get? Because some people jokingly they say when people are quiet, they are wicked. But that might not necessarily be all the time for people. So it tells you that character varies. It differentiates people from others. That's how we have the same, way of life. So an individual's character is actually an amalgamation of all qualities which make, him unique and which helps him stand out from others. Who you are as different from the next person close to you is character. Is character. And that is why character is very key and needed to be effectively managed. And this leads us to character management. What then is character management? Character in the workplace sets the tone of how a business should operate. Because it's the totality of the behavior of people in that setting, how they do their thing. So when considering character and the impact it may have on a business, the need to examine core values often related to character is important. Because what is your core values in terms of what you hold on to as an organization, what you believe, what should guide your behavioral patterns, or what should guide your actions and decisions in the workplace. Now, character management is a process of effectively harnessing the ways of life of employees within the organization to fit into these goals or these core values. Everybody is exhibiting certain traits because we all have different backgrounds, but we need to ensure that we manage everybody together so that they don't drift away from the goals of the organization. Yes, you may have talkatives, you may have people who are temperamental, you may have people who are slow and sluggish, you have people who are intelligent and brilliant. They have different characters, but you must ensure that you manage everybody together. You harness the ways everybody will inhabit that setting to achieve your goal, because if character is not well managed, there will be no sense of direction. There will be no unity of direction. There will be no, that centrality in what is to be achieved in the workplace. And of course, when we say character management, it includes operating in a trustworthy manner, demonstrating respect at every opportunity, and taking responsibility for actions. All of these are embedded in what character management is all about. So beyond this, showing concern and doing the right thing, even when difficult, represent characteristics found in individuals and operating in an ethical manner. That what ethical manner actually captures what character management is all about, because it helps you to um, do your work diligently, in a way that is ripe and suitable for the job. Now, in conclusion, we've talked about attitude and character management. They are very key and fundamental in achieving growth and profitability in an organization. Your attitude determines your altitude. Who you are determines where you get to. Who you are as an employer will determine how you move through the ranks in a workplace. So your good character will be trust, and without trust, people will not follow you. As a manager, as a HR person or an HR practitioner, you deal with people. You must possess the right character. You must possess the right attitude for people to follow you and do what you tell them to do. That's why you need to manage character well in order to build that trust and that ethical principle. So without followers, obviously, one cannot lead. And once you don't have people to follow you based on your attitude and character, there's no how you can be a good leader. We have come to the end of today's class. We've learned about attitude and character management in the workplace, just an overview of what these concepts are today. In our subsequent classes, we'll discuss, some specific issues which are to be addressed when talking about attitude and character management in the workplace. For more questions, you can please send your comments to the group chat, and all of these will be attended to. Thank you and have a good day.